Welcome back, everybody. I'm Winter. And I am bringing you another Winter Starcast. We got another Protoss versus Zerg, this time on Invader, between two of the top North American players once again. We have the Protoss player in the blue. It's Neeb, the #1 ranked Grandmaster. His opponent, one of the most accomplished North American players of all time, the Queen of Blades. It is Scarlett in the pink trunks. No trunks involved. But anyways, in the pink. And we're going to be seeing one of the more interesting maps, Invader. It's definitely a map. A couple things to point out is we're in horizontal positions, which means we're at the closest air distance between these two players, as well as having that access to the back of the main, stuff like that. And an incredibly long ground distance. You have to walk all the way down, around, all the way through, all the way... You get what I'm getting at here. So we see a lot of early drops and Stargate plays, stuff like that. Becomes very common on a map like this, especially in Protoss versus Zerg. Of course, they could have potentially spawned in that close by ground positions, the vertical positions, but both players have now scouted their opponent, and they know where they are. The cross positions are disabled on this map. So, we'll have to see what they opt for. Neeb and Scarlett, some of the best players North America has to offer, the world has to offer. Both WCS players. And on this map, I'm expecting to see definitely some interesting builds, because another big thing about this map, the third base, is it's out there. You gotta really stretch your neck out. When you stretch your neck out, there's a good chance your opponent's gonna be bringing a sword down above your shoulder blades if you're not careful. So we see, especially for Protoss players, having a tough time getting all the way out. You have all this space to cover on the ground to protect your third base. So even more than most maps, this map is very air-focused, especially for Protoss players. Unless, I'm going to point this out before I point out what's in the production tab, you opt to go for just a 2-base strong attack, because Zerg does still suffer somewhat from the same weaknesses. If you're going to go for a strong attack, you can get to their bases very quickly, and they might not have the time or the reinforcements to defend. And as we see here, Neeb is going for a very quick Twilight Council, and he's kind of hiding it in the back of his base, and he's opting for the Adept Glaives. This is definitely an aggressive play here. Going for anything out of the Twilight Council before expanding towards the third base is relatively uncommon, not very uncommon, but it's just indicating strength off of 2-base. We'll have to see how much Neeb commits to that, especially since Scarlett has, even before Overlord speed completed, which is a second from now, there you go, has scouted that Twilight Council, has scouted the lack of gases at the natural. She, more than likely, I believe that was a Zergling on the other side, that was First Blood. But we see the Adept getting taken down by the relatively early speedlings. We see this out of Scarlett pretty consistently, as Adept harass is incredibly common. Just getting those speedlings out and then even working up towards the +1 melee attack is very good. Now she knows she's dealing with more than likely Adepts, and she knows that just Zerglings against upgraded Adepts not gonna leave you in a good spot the majority of the time, and just gonna go up into the Overlord more than likely. And another thing, if you don't open up a Stargate, how do you kill these Overlords? The short answer is you shouldn't. And the long answer, you don't, against a player of this caliber. So the Dropper Lord is in position. More Zerglings on the way. Neeb has made his proxy pylon about as far away as you can without it being scouted immediately. But as close to the third base as possible to be safe. The opposite of that. That didn't make sense in context, but... Scarlett immediately scouting there's no third base. The worker count, 46 probes. 47 probes to 35 drones. This is the drawback of going for these early Zerglings. Neeb actually has the better economy. He's able to produce more units. In the long run, he won't be. He doesn't have access to a third, but for now, he's right on top of that third base. Drones will fall immediately. 3 have fallen so far. And what is there to actually defend against this? The Glaives have finished. +1 melee attack has not completed to buff up these Zerglings. We see the Adepts trying to shade away. They will do so successfully and join up with some of their friends. And the Adept micro is good. The Zergling micro is good as well. It looks like the Adepts are more than enough to break through. And this creates a bit of a tough issue here for Scarlett. She's not going to lose the third. She's not going to lose the third, but she can't make drones right now. How do you afford drones when you need every single larva to be a Zergling? That is the downside of going for a Zergling-based economy in this scenario. I mean, a Zergling-based attack, not based economy. If only you could mine with Zerglings, that would be amazing. So that's the Zerg player. But now we see +1 finishing, the Banelings connecting, and finally we might see Scarlett. Ooh. It looks like we missed a Baneling drop over here. You know what? I don't usually do this in replays, but I think we need to see what happened there. 18 probes went down. Instant replay. Bam. 18 probes. That was pretty effective. It looks like those Banelings just waddled their way forward before the Phoenixes were able to get rid of these Dropper Lords. So beautifully played counter damage by Scarlett, and suddenly it's 32 to 29 workers. We're all evened up, and now Neeb doesn't have a third base. Shout out to Base Trade TV for providing this replay, by the way, for us to watch. All right, now we see the transition into Phoenixes. This is a very low economy game right now. Even though Scarlett has 3 bases, she has to be the aggressor before Neeb builds up too many Phoenixes. She doesn't even have a lair. Yeah, she does not even have a lair. Her only anti-air is Queens and Spores. That doesn't work out in the long run. This attack is moving through. There's still an Adept at the wall, but there are no pylons powered at the moment. No overcharge can be used. More Zerglings are coming forward. The gateway is under fire. +1 ranged attack. Not necessarily impactful at the moment, but would be nice to have is coming up. The overcharge should be used in just a moment. I don't see, there's barely any lifts left on these Phoenixes, so they're effectively not contributing to the fight. We see the Cyber Core being taken down. Honestly, though, losing a Cyber Core for a handful of Lings, not a terrible trade right now. As you see, Scarlett has actually lost a lot more. Every time you lose a Baneling, no matter how many probes you kill, you still lost that Baneling. So the units lost tab sometimes is a little bit biased for the Zerg player, as a lot of those units lost weren't units lost in vain. You see now the Phoenixes showing their value as Scarlett's struggling to mine from this third base. She's continuing to pump out Zerglings here. The Banelings will come in and bust through the pylon at a pretty heavy cost to the Bane. 4 more drones will go down, and we see the worker count, 40 to 51. I didn't realize Scarlett had droned up that much. It's important to check that income tab every once in a while. All right. So let's take a step back. Let's take a step back while these Phoenixes continue to get a workout with their lifting. And see where we stand in this game. The worker count is in favor of Scarlett. She's had access. She can literally throw drone bodies at these Phoenixes until they run out of energy. Of course, they will regain that energy, and they will kill more drones. But will they do it quickly enough? As Scarlett is now adding on a Hydralisk Den, adding on +1 attack. She's already got a solid drone count despite all the Phoenix lifts. Right now, 14 workers have been killed by Neeb. The vast majority with those Phoenixes. Against the 18 of Scarlett in that singular Baneling drop. And we see more Adepts coming across the army supplies in favor of Neeb. Oh my god, I didn't realize she hadn't been building anything. The Spore Crow has come forward, an incredibly necessary part of this unit composition. I guess not unit, in Zerg composition. We'll just go with that. But how does she stop this? That's not that many Adepts, but these Phoenixes are picking up everything in their brother. More Banelings coming up. There's literally not enough energy to pick up these Banelings. The Banelings do not do damage, despite the fact they're picked up in the air. They will do damage on the ground when they are killed in the air. Fun fact. But we see more Banelings coming up. Are there enough to deal with these Adepts? Scarlett seems to think yes, despite being down 20 supply. She's still working off this base. Seen a lot of good damage so far, buying a lot of time on these Adepts. She's trying not to waste the Banes on singular Adepts, which is a smart move. 12 more drones have gone down. That leaves the tally at 51 to 41. But incredibly importantly, that third base is still online, and there's nothing that's going to stop it in the near future. Neeb is struggling towards a third base of his own. He's got the ever-important 2 robotics on the way. This is how he will deal with a later game army. But all he has are Phoenixes. Can he defend this base? These Zerglings do have +1, but a couple sentries and a Mothership Core will do a lot to deny these Zerglings what they want here. We see more Spore Crawlers on the way. You can't have enough when you got double-digit Phoenixes. 14 Phoenixes flying around, sharking around, waiting for their opportunity. More Spore Crawlers on the way, and actually going for the Infestors. She realizes, I cannot deal with these Phoenixes directly. I need to find a way to deal with them in bulk. Just trying to deal with them one at a time. Phoenixes are one of the most cost-effective units in the entire game of StarCraft. And Scarlett is feeling all of that right now. She does not have a 4th. She does have a 3rd, but so does Neeb now. And these Hydras are going to get picked off one by one, quite literally. Another, and the +1, let's not underestimate the power of +1. Each of these Phoenixes attacks twice, which means that +1 upgrade is applied twice. It's actually a pretty significant damage increase when put across all of these Phoenixes. Now we see the game changer, the 5 Infestors joining the production tab, and Neeb has had access to this third base for a pretty long while. The Templar Archives on the way. Neeb is putting together everything I was avoiding a pun there, but everything he needs for a later game unit composition. As we see the Phoenixes start to really take their toll, down to 55, 54 workers, but the fungal on everything! So many Phoenixes are gonna go down. That's a huge fungal. That changes absolutely this entire game. Swings it right back on its face. And now we see the Phoenixes in blind retreat. 16 workers have gone down, though. Scarlett still having a tough time putting together a standing army that can deal with Neebs. It's 128 to 121 supply. Scarlett struggling towards a 4th base, but one more fungal could eliminate those Phoenixes for good, and now Neeb is being incredibly wary. He's definitely playing defensive ever since he got caught out, but Scarlett offering up some drones to the fire. And this time Neeb's not going to be caught sleeping. Alright. Scarlett really needs these Phoenixes. They're showing their cost effectiveness. We look at the units lost. Almost doubled now for Scarlett. Neeb is building up that army. He's building up Storm. There is nothing on the ground that really can stand up to Storm. Even Hydralists, technically, if they stand in the entire Storm, get 1 hit. Storm does 80 damage. So all of these units but the Infestors will die to 1 Storm if it's good enough. And what else? What does Scarlett have to transition? She doesn't have roaches. She doesn't have a lurker den. She doesn't have a hive. She has Infestors and Hydras and Zerglings. And Neeb has exactly what he needs, and then some to counter that. The army supply is 101 to 78. Neeb has kept control of this game. Scarlett, despite having more bases, has struggled for that economy. Neeb making an uncharacteristic mistake and rallying these 2 Immortals. These were just scouting Immortals, alright? That's what we'll tell the public. But so many Banelings on the way. 1 Storm is going to do a number on them. Whoop. The fungal's trying to be used. Remember, feedback has that intense range. Is Baneling speed done? It is not. He does not have Baneling speed. So these Banelings are going to waddle in slowly to what could be a very painful psionic death. Scarlett putting everything she has together. The worker counts even, effectively, actually in favor of Neeb. The unit composition in favor of Neeb. The position, honestly, with Templar, most of the time, it's going to be in favor of Neeb. See the Hydras coming in on the left-hand side. This triggers the rest of the flank, but there's still so many sentries. There's still so many Phoenixes. The Storms are raining home. Scarlett in this last-ditch, all-out attempt to finally find an engagement she can win. And she will get crushed. As expected, great control out of Neeb, as is customary. And Scarlett will be forced to tap out of that game. It looked like she might have had a shot, but Neeb just too good with his Phoenixes' spell control. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. Thank you, Base Trade TV. Good luck, have fun, everyone. Rate, feedback, whatever. Subscribe, all the buttons. And happy StarCrafting. See you next time.